Hello, I'm Sherry Ann Lovegrove, author, coaching psychotherapist, and inspirational speaker. And what I do is I help sensitive, empathic women that are stressed, overwhelmed, and depleted because they're prioritizing everyone else and everything but themselves. So what they do is put others first. They really say no. They worry what people think. They put pressure on themselves. And because they're so good at what they do and doing everything, they often are in the background and they end up being ignored, overlooked, and discounted. So what I do is I embolden them to step confidently into their sovereignty and take back control. Say no, safely navigate relationship boundaries, and have a lifestyle that's healthier, happier, more loving, and divinely feminine. And who wouldn't want that? The most important thing, and I know some people talk about the divine feminine, and it does, in a way, sometimes turn people off, but I truly, truly, truly believe that unless we are taking and accepting all those parts of ourselves, we will be constantly fighting ourselves. And the important thing is to realize that we are never just one. We are both masculine and feminine. We have structure and we have form. The amount of energy we put into the form holds the structure. So as we create structure, we create form and we manifest and make it bigger. So we cannot be one without the other. We cannot be like a river that overshoots its banks. It becomes unstable. We have to be able to have the right kinds of boundaries that allow us to be functional. So today, I know that over the last 3 times I've been talking about, first of all, I talked about harmony, I talked about activation. Actually, this is the 3rd time. I'm going to talk a little bit, a very small amount, about our future. So in the sense of what's our purpose. And for most people, we don't necessarily know our purpose from early on. I certainly didn't. I had an idea, and when I started to really look back over my life, I started to see what my purpose was all about. I started to understand and connect with my why that little bit more. But a why is not a purpose. And that's an interesting thing too. A why is not a purpose. A why is just a reason for doing something. A purpose is the aspiration of our soul to get it done. And that's a very, very different aspect of which we look at. And I don't know about you, and it'd be good if you can comment when you see this recording, whether you have always known that you had a purpose. Did you just get a feeling of that purpose, or did you stumble a lot like me to try and find exactly what your purpose is? Because it can be a slippery thing, and it certainly can be a very, very slippery thing if you have had a life that's been quite traumatized. Yeah, because when we are traumatized, we are so busy running in survival that we can't see the wood from the trees. But when we do get to see the difference, when we can make out the differences, things change in a very, very different way. So purpose is really about connecting to what our soul is trying to tell us. We are here for others. We are not here for ourselves, although that's what we like to think. And if we want to stay in our monkey brain and our animal brain and that brain that chit-chats all the time, then that brain will keep us fixed. It'll keep us stuck. It'll keep us in a place where we can't move. But if we connect to that part of ourself that is deep, deep within us. That part is the part that is part of our purpose. It is the way we start to pose our life in the world. So when I think of purpose, I like to think about it in the sense of the idea that when I make a decision, I can use it as a form to give me the direction I need to move forward with. I had a discussion with my partner over this weekend where I said, oh, someone said they took right action. Well, he said, paradoxically, well, they wouldn't want to take wrong action, would they? Oh, my goodness me, what a pedant. When you have a pedant in a relationship, that can be really interesting, but he is right. He is right. It's all about taking action, because when we take action, quite honestly, we always think it is right. So we then need to look at, does the action make us happy? Does it make us truly happy? So are we doing something that's inspired, that allows us to flow, that allows us to move into a state of exquisite being? And if we're not taking right action. We're definitely taking the wrong one. Now, it can be okay if we are all right in the fact of going, well, okay, that's where I am. I'm not going to bother about it. I know that I will move forward. Then it's not a problem. But when we don't see the way forward, that's when troubles happen. So having an idea about our purpose is so very important, particularly when we get to those choice points, those crossroads. And every moment that we are here on this earth, we are making choices all of the time. And many of those choices that we are making are outside our awareness. So we have to get really good at finding out about those choice points so that we can stay on track, so that we can start to live our purpose. And one way to really begin to think about purpose and how we can use it is the idea of surrendering. How do we surrender to a purpose? How do we surrender to life? Yeah, a lot of us are spending our life just trying to just live it instead of surrendering to it, allowing life to give us and show us the opportunities so that we can take action in line with purpose. So some of the choice points which can be very useful is to look at this idea of surrender. What are we surrendering towards? What are we surrendering towards might be a really good way to start with the idea of purpose. So when we think about, say, having a cup of coffee, I know that's a very simple choice point, but we might think, well, if that coffee keeps me awake at night, would I surrender towards sleeping? No. And sleeping would give me what? It'll allow me to feel a lot better in the morning. Okay, so we're surrendering towards an outcome, which is part of that purpose. There are many purposes. We don't just have one. We have a soul purpose. We have a physiological purpose. We have different purposes because, in a way, an outcome is a purpose. But it depends how big that outcome is as to how much we will engage with it. So start today just by spending a little time thinking about purpose, because when you think about all those beautiful blessings that you've had in your life, this can be the start of your purpose. For many of you may not know that I'm writing my second book. The first book, The Aha Moment, which I'm now really claiming properly. I hadn't done it for 3 years. And the reason was because I didn't know how to own anything. I didn't know how to be in true sovereignty. And so therefore I couldn't go out and sell my book, which was crazy because it's a damn good book. But the thing was, I needed to find where I could step in and be sovereign in myself. Where could I stand in substance, be full of substance, and be in sovereignty? That was really important. And understand what sovereignty meant. Understand when my thoughts disappear and go all AWOL, that, yeah, I'm leeching a little bit of sovereignty. So I was really understanding it from a very basic and yet a magnificently big experience. But what I did see were little things like why I always spoke to women when that, I worked as a midwife, and why did I always tell them that they would treat their sons and daughters differently, and they need to understand that it's because the way daughters and sons receive information differently because of their hormones. I said this such a long time ago. I didn't even understand that this was so key to who I am. I didn't understand that actually I was going to work with trauma so much in my life. I used to, when I first started doing psychotherapy, I truly believed everything was about stress. I truly believed everything was about a trauma that needed to be resolved. But I didn't really have all the knowledge. And being a person that had been traumatized herself, I didn't even see it. I wasn't able to see it. And so therefore I was sitting there in a way chronically underconfident. So that was something that was really important to me when I started to understand the purpose. I started to understand why it was important to take action that was in line with that purpose. Because when I started to take action in line with that purpose, I started to do things. I started to do more videos. I started to speak a little more to people about the things that they needed to understand. And actually, I became a better therapist, a better coach, and a better speaker. In fact, I did so much better purely by being connected to my purpose. Because the interesting thing was, as I started to expand, so too did the magnetic resonance expand, and it starts to draw things in, and you become more creative and more purposeful. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And if there's something here that interests you, or you would like to find out a little more about how I work, then please like and share. If you have a friend that you would like to hear me speak to, hear me speak, please, put the link on their page, or share it here on LinkedIn. You can also, I will put another link in here for you to perhaps book in and have a virtual chat with me, or you can just leave a message and I will get back to you. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing you soon. Bye-bye.